Hello, good morning class. So this is your science teacher, Ma'am Tanya Bernardo, and welcome to Science 101. So last time we discussed all about the ecological relationship. So we all know class that ecological relationship describe the interactions between and among organisms within their environment. Okay? So this time class, we will going to discuss all about the food chain and the food web. So let us start our discussion.
Okay, class. So let us start our discussion. So let us first discuss the food chain. Okay. So what is food chain, class? Okay, this is the flow of energy in an ecosystem can be shown in the diagram. Okay. So a food chain is a series of links of how each organism gets its food and how nutrients are passed onto them. Okay? So, kapag sinabi daw natin na food chain, class, ito daw yung pagka-sunod-sunod ng mga link ng mga organisms. Okay? So, in the figure 6.2.8, mamaya na shows an example of a food chain. Okay? So, the food chain starts with the producer. Kapag sinabi natin class na producer, ito po ay usually ay mga plants. Lahat ng uri ng halaman. So, ang tawag po sa kanila ay producer. Okay. So, the producer is then eaten by the primary consumer, which will then be eaten by the secondary consumer, and so on. Ano daw yung unang kakain doon sa producer? Anong tawag? So, ang tawag po ay primary consumer. And then after that, yung sunod na kumain sa kanya, ang tawag po ay secondary consumer, tertiary consumer, and so on and so forth. Okay. So, any organism in this food chain may be called a primary consumer as long as it is the first to eat the producer. Kung sino daw ang unang kumain doon sa kung anumang uri ng halaman, so ang tawag po ay primary consumer. Okay? Okay. So, next class, in the food chain, each arrow means eaten by. Okay? So, ang ibig sabihin daw ng arrow na ito, this is eaten by. Now, so each stage is known as a trophic level, which refers to the position in the food chain occupied by a group of organisms with a similar feeding mode. Okay? So, food chains usually have an average of 4 to 5 links. So, kapag sinabi daw natin, class, na pag food chain po, ito po ay hanggang ilan? Hanggang 4 to 5. Pwedeng hanggang 6. Yun yung pinakang last. A very long food chain may result in less supply and high demand for food. So, we have an example here. Okay. So, this is an example of food chain, class. As you can see, we have here a producer. Okay? This is a kind of plant. Pwede natin siyang sabihin na ito po ay grass. Okay? Okay, we have a primary consumer. So, what is this primary consumer? This is a worm. Okay? Next, we have the secondary consumer. Okay? Kinain itong chicken, itong worm. Okay, siya yung sumunod na kumain. And then the last one, sino yung huling kumain? Okay, pwedeng kumain doon sa chicken ay yung snake. So, this is the tertiary consumer. Okay? So, kung pwede pang may kumain doon sa snake, pwedeng human. Siya yung pinakang last. Pwede yun. Okay? So, ganito po, class, yung example ng food chain. Okay?
Okay, class. So, I will repeat. So, this grass is eaten by the worm. Okay, this arrow means eaten by the worm. And this worm is eaten by the chicken. And the last, okay, and this chicken eaten by the snake. Okay. We have an example here of a 3-link food chain. Okay, so as you can see, we have here a producer, which is the corn, and we have the primary consumer and the secondary consumer. Okay? So this corn is eaten by the mouse. And the last one, this mouse is eaten by the owl. Okay? Next, we have here another example, a 4-link food chain. Okay, so the producer is the carrot. Okay? And we have here a secondary, a tertiary, and last consumer. So we have here a carrot is eaten by the rabbit. So a rabbit is eaten by the fox. Okay, and then the fox is eaten by the lion. Okay, next, the last example, we have a 5-link food chain. Okay, so we have here producer, which is the grass. Okay, and the next we have the secondary, third, and the fourth and fifth consumer. Okay, so we have here a grass is eaten by the grasshopper, and the grasshopper is eaten by the frog. Okay, and this frog is eaten by the snake, and this snake is eaten by the eagle. Okay, so that is our example of the food chain. Did you understand, class? Okay, so now, class, let us proceed to the food web. Okay, so a food web or food cycle is the natural interconnection of food chains and a graphical representation, usually an image, of what eats what in an ecological community. So another name for food web is a consumer resource system. Okay, take note for that. Another name for food web is consumer resource system. Okay, so kapag sinabi daw natin, class, the food web, ito yung interconnection ng food chains. Diba yung food chain, pwede siyang 4 to 6 link. Kapag naman, class, sa food web, yan. Ito na po, sobrang dami na kinakailangang organisms. Iba-iba na yung pwedeng kumain doon sa mga organism na yon. Okay? We have an example here, class. So, number 1, isa-isahin natin. We have here a producer, which is the corn. Okay? So, the corn is eaten by the grasshopper. So, pwedeng ang sumunod na kumain dun sa grasshopper is eaten by the frog, eaten by the python. Okay. Next, balik tayo. Corn, grasshopper, rat, python, and the last we have the eagle. Okay, class. So, ganyan po yung pag-a-analyze pagdating sa food web. Next, we have here another. We have a flowering plant. We have, it is eaten by the butterfly, eaten by the frog, eaten by the python again, and eaten by the eagle. Okay? Next, let us go back. Flowering plant, eaten by the butterfly, eaten by the dragonfly, yan, eaten by the thrush, this is a kind of bird, and eaten by the eagle. Okay? Next, balik tayo ulit. Flowering plant, butterfly, dragonfly, okay, frog, python, eagle again. Okay? Next, let us proceed to the lavenders. Butterfly, dragonfly, yan, thrush, eagle. Okay, the last is the eagle. Then the last we have the mangoes. Okay, it is eaten by the fruit fly, eaten by the thrush, eaten by the wolf, eaten by the python, and last is eaten by the eagle. Okay? So, ganito po yung pag-a-analyze. So, wag niyong kakalimutan. It starts with the producer, and marami ng kasunod na consumer. Okay? Pero, syempre, dapat magkakaayos or organize kung sino yung mga kumain. Okay? Example, okay, hindi pwede na ang kumain dito sa mangoes ay yung wolf agad. Ayan, so directly siya yung kakain, hindi pwede yon. Okay, dapat magsimula muna dun sa pinakang small na organism bago tapos doon sa malalaki. Okay, class? Okay, class, so what have you learned? Okay, so we learned that food chain is a linear sequence of organisms through which nutrients and energy pass as one organism eats another. Okay, while the food webs consist of many interconnected food chains and are more realistic representation of consumption relationships in ecosystem. Okay, so always remember that food webs are important tools in understanding that plants are the foundation of all ecosystems and food chains sustaining life by providing nourishment and oxygen needed for survival and reproduction. So makikita natin na kung wala yung mga halaman, of course, ang magsasuffer talaga ay yung mga consumer. Okay, class? So, class, if you have any questions or clarifications, kindly ask me. Okay? So, that's it for now and goodbye, class!